Hey guys, the following conversation between the two of us is going to be about
How long actually to meditate and when the magic happens,
a good posture,
and when actually to work in the story or just to be silent and don't touch the mind. And yes, let's start right into it.
why do I keep falling asleep during meditation?
Like what you basically want in the first place when it comes to meditation is to have a relaxed body, because with a relaxed body, you can watch the mind more easily and the thoughts. And when you fall asleep, it's very common that you have a very, very relaxing position, but you're just not aware anymore. So usually that happens when you're lying down. So if that's the case, I would say sit in a chair where you can sit comfortably on the couch, on the sofa, on a cushion, where your body is relaxed, but there are still small amount of effort, just like effortless effort, which you have to use to keep your posture in position, I would say. Just like the tiny amount of it, just a little bit. And then it's not gonna happen that, first of all, that you're gonna fall asleep. And I would say also the second reason is because you're not watching, you're not trying to watch the thoughts, you're not trying to watch sensations that are coming up. And by not doing so, you will go into the unconscious deep sleep.
And what if people can't lie down? If they all want to practice in sitting because they got injured?
Then I would say, again, first relax your body, see if there are some tensions, so that you're gonna find yourself in a state where all the muscles are relaxed. And from that on, you have to put your attention on something that is basically real, that is here, that is not imagined, which is usually the breath, could be also the heartbeat, or just the warmth of the body. And by putting your attention on it, you usually stay aware with what is at this moment. And by doing so, the chances of really going into deep sleep should be diminished. So it's really all about putting attention on something that is not imagined and sticking to it regardless of what this might come up. And if you have a proper look at it, the sensation of fatigue, of being exhausted or sleepiness, these are all just sensations of the physical body. And if you watch them long enough, there's a chance of going beyond it. It's like you're watching the body. And once you find yourself in that space, it's very likely that you're not going to fall asleep from there. So the whole approach is it really just to watch, to observe, and to feel what's happening, and to put your attention on something, that you don't fall in this typical pattern of just snoozing off.
For how long should I meditate as a beginner?
For how long should I meditate as a beginner? I would say that's quite easily. Like if you go with classical, traditional ways of meditating, for example, vipassana, where you put your attention on the breath and you just watch the breath, how it's going in and out into the body. There you start with something which you can do without any effort. Let's say 5 minutes. Once you can do 5 minutes without that it feels like it's a torture, you do 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and you try to find a time that you can easily sit without forcing yourself to. And then once you're comfortable with that, you start to build up and put 5 minutes more on top of it and 5 minutes more on top of it. And usually I would say a time where it gets really interesting or starts to get interesting is like the 45 minutes mark. Because then after sitting for 45 minutes just still, your body will go into relaxation. And once your body is relaxed, it's way much more easier to watch the thoughts. So if you can manage to just sit for 45 minutes without forcing yourself to, you will see just by hitting that time mark, it's going to be way much more easier. So that would be my recommendation for beginners, to build up to 45 minutes if Vipassana works for them, and general watching the breath. And if so, after 45 minutes, you should see the first differences in comparison to 5, 10, 20 minutes.
What I also usually see in beginners is that they are very eager, at least in the beginning. They want to sit for an hour, or let's say an hour. But they're just like, it's no meditation at all. It's just pain, just sitting, just a lot of thoughts, like sometimes even active thinking. And I would rather suggest, when people really want to do like 1 hour, rather do 6 times 10 minutes of meditation, like really as a beginner. And maybe also starting with guided meditations, because your mind will just drift off so quickly that you're just thinking, and just like getting like a sense of how it is just to sit and not doing anything. Why does my body feel uncomfortable or painful when I sit still?
Well, there are basically 2 types of pain that can arise. The first one is just like the typical physical pain, which just comes from the sitting position. Let's say you're sitting in a cross-legged position for 40, 60 or 90 minutes, then at a certain point it can just happen that due to the pressure that you might feel pain in your knees or in your feet or maybe in your lower back. And this is basically just to the pressure. So if this occurs, and it's very typical that it occurs in the knees or in the feet, is don't force yourself to sit through it. I would say, just if it's too much, just quickly change the position to something which is more comfortable, and then continue your meditation. Yes, and the second kind of pain that can arise is coming from the pain body. So basically, when you feel into the body and you're not keeping your mind busy with some other mental activities, you will start to see that there are certain tensions arising in different areas in the body, and that can be literally tension in the muscles or somewhere on the inside. That can be emotions which are coming up, but that can be also physical pain, and this pain is not related in any way to the sitting posture you're finding yourself in. It's literally just the pain body, which are suppressed emotions, and they now start to arise because you're now giving them space by feeling into your body. And all basically what you have to do is to just welcome them, be with them, sit with them, and don't try to suppress them again, because basically what's just happening is that in the past you have been not comfortable with something, so you have the tendency to push them away. But sooner or later, when you give space to it again, they're going to rise up, and all what they want is basically to be felt totally. And if you feel them in totality, they're going to disappear. So basically, these are also just sensations which are going to arise and go. And yes, I would say, if you don't know if it's due to the sitting posture or if it's the pain body, I would really just check by switching the position. And if they're rising again, then you know it's definitely not due to the sitting position, and it's usually due from suppressed emotions.
And maybe here it can be helpful to say, because when this pain comes up, it can come up with images, memories, thoughts. Here it's not necessarily a bad sign. Let's say you're in silence for a while, and then thoughts come up, but not usually this, oh, I need to do this and that, but like maybe like in memory from childhood, from the past, like something from the past. it's not necessarily like a bad sign that you're like, oh, now my meditation is interrupted or something. It's actually also a sign that you can see that your pain body gets activated, or that you are aware of it, and then also old stories can come up with it. So it's not necessarily a bad sign when you have past memories coming up, because now you can look at them.
Yes, and the most important thing is don't go with the story, don't go with the mental images, be with the feeling itself, because the story is just the content of the mind again. And by focusing on the images and the story, you will move the attention from the sensation away to the mind again. And once you're in the mind again, you basically are up in the head and caught in the head. And then you're moving actually away from the sensations. So whatever is coming up, stick to the sensations, to watch them, and don't get caught up in an image that is coming up.
Mm-hmm. And this is also, I think, where it's the biggest risk to go into the mind again, because it will tell you, oh, here I can work on something, I can analyze this. But here you should just check for yourself, is your main goal meditation or therapy? Because if it's meditation, you don't need to analyze something. You just stay with what is and let it go. Or let's say if it's like comes up over and over, like the same topic, like a specific situation, it can make sense to have a look at it from a therapeutic point of view. But usually, like with anything else, like the thought, I'm hungry, it comes and it goes. And even with painful stories, it comes and it goes. So there's no need to analyze anything, only when you can't let it go. And this happens when it's not fully seen, when you go into changing, analyzing mode into the mind. Last question could be also connected to it, because there's this, I don't know if you say model, but it's like either you move horizontally, or you go into silence, you go more vertically, like down. I'm sure like maybe people have heard of these concepts. Maybe you can talk about it or explain it, what it is, and the difference between the two. Yeah, and why it's maybe important to know about this in meditation.
Yeah, so basically meditation can just naturally happen in the moment right here. And if we maybe compare it to letters, it would be like the ABC. So if we go in a linear way, it's A, B, C, D, E. And if we're just with a moment, then it's A1, A2, A3, A4, and then we're going up. And the most direct way is just to stay at this moment where we are right here, and we're going up basically on this line, the A1, A2, A3, and the whole activity of the mind is in a linear way. It wants to go from moment A to point B to point C and moves through thoughts basically on that axis. And if you're basically just resting in the moment, you're always going up, and you go directly to basically what is. And the moment you start to go with the mind with some content that's coming up during your meditation, could be like what we've just said a minute ago, I want to analyze something, you will go from A or A1, A2, A3 to the side, and then you start to explore it in a linear way with thinking, imagination, because you hope you will get some answers there, and you basically can explore things on the linear axis, but sooner or later you will realize, oh, it's basically just just exploration based on the idea that I might get something in a future point, B, C, D, E, F, G, Y. And once you start to see that this is also just a thought, you can come back to A and then start going up again in the present moment. And yeah, I would say meditations like zazen, where you're just sitting, basically doing nothing. You're basically just staying with the A, A1, A2, AB, A3, A4, and you're just in this A moment. And it's a very direct approach, basically. And when you find yourself maybe trying to do some shadow work, inner child work, healing of some emotional wounds or traumas, you start to go into the horizontal axis, to the linear way of doing things, and then you try to fix their things, maybe because it's just too intense to sit with it at this moment right now.
Maybe to add here that it can be helpful sometimes to do work on the horizontal thing, but only when it's really necessary. And sometimes even the thought that it's necessary is just a thought. So actually you will, if the meditation goes right, you're just going down or up. It's basically the same, but it just goes deeper, 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 deeper. And there's a point where you go into the horizontal, and maybe when, people might say, oh, like it's so deep here, and they talk about different stuff, maybe emotions that have been suppressed, or energy
saying
thingies.
It's so deep going is going into the horizontal.
Yeah, it's still like even if it's on a deeper level and you move horizontally, it's basically the same, just on a different level. But it doesn't make it any deeper, even if it appears that way. So basically the aim is just going down. But this is not how it usually happens. Usually, especially as a beginner, it's like just being up here, and thinking that this is life. Then after quite a while, you notice, oh, fuck, I'm just going here, but you notice it. And then here and there, you go a little bit down and up. And then you're like, oh, nice, nice, nice. But then after a while, you go deeper and deeper, but then you stay there again. And once you become aware of this pattern, and you've done a good amount of shadow work and so on, it's easier to instantly go down. And most likely you're going to hit a point where it's again, you don't continue, but you can just ask yourself, like, what am I hitting? Is there really a point? Or the moment you just are being still, usually it goes down again. The moment you're present, you can't really move horizontally. It just goes vertically.
Yeah, I would say at the beginning it's more like a Christmas tree shape. So you're starting on a linear way and going from this way. Then you hit the center where you can go down or up, doesn't matter. But it's basically like staying in this moment. But again, because you're not aware of it, you go into the linear way. Then in an extreme, you become aware of it. Then you come back and you again realize, oh shit, it's again the linear way. Then you start to go in, and at the end, you will come up and basically are able to stay just in the moment here. Then you have like this very typical shape of coming more and more closer to the moment. This is at least how it shows up, or how it looks like if you put it into a model. But yeah, basically it's all about just being here right now.
And maybe this going horizontally, this going deep, or when people say I'm so deep, or like it's like really far out, it's actually like the same like being still. When people say like they try to go down or deeper, it's like just being still. Or when people say I'm just still, then it's like this movement, if you can call it, the way of going down. So it's not something like, because at a certain point, like in the beginning, it can help to work with images of going down, but at a certain point, okay, this is also just like horizontally in the beginning, I feel like those images can help to imagine that you're being drawn down or going up. But at a certain point, you also need to let go of this.
Yeah, it's
because you hit a mark, a ceiling.
What he's basically saying is like you are so far out from the moment that imagining, like for example, sinking, the sensation of sinking down, relaxing, can bring you closer to the moment than just saying, oh no, I don't need a picture, I don't need anything, I can do it from here. But yeah, it's basically naturally going to show to you if you're able to do that or not. And if, for example, it helps at the beginning that somebody guides you and says, feel how your body relaxes or how you're thinking, if that brings you closer to the moment, then it's worth something. And if not, then just not. But at the end, there's going to be a point where you feel that even this picture or even these words are not helping anymore to be with what is.
Yeah, it's more on the way. That's it for today. Yeah. We hope it kind of helped you, and see you again.